We'll call this meeting to order. Would you please stand for the flag salute?
Flag of the United States of America, republic for which it stands.
I want to thank everybody for being here tonight. Do we have any translation needs? See, we got some more coming in. Okay, do we have any need for translation tonight? Okay, seeing none, we will continue on. We need a approval of the agenda.
I'll motion to approve the agenda.
Got a first, have we got a second?
I'll second it.
Got a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So carries. Next one is recognition. Yes.
All right, I'm Will Von Brock, and this is Jenny Hokinson. We're from McFarland, and we're excited to be able to recognize one of our employees today. As we work at McFarland, our focus is on having a nurturing environment that's safe and helps create learning environments. And there's an individual that is able to do this and support us in this and really focus on the safety of our students and the well-being of our students without ever losing sight of the ability to build relationships and really nurture our kids and be there for them at all times. And that person that we want to recognize tonight is Joey Villarreal. So even right now, he's here thinking he's supporting his wife, but we're here to recognize him. So
Appreciate it, Will.
I just wanted to find an excuse to buy Joey flowers. So looking for it.
Going to a funeral.
All right, I think you got to come up and take pictures.
Where?
Right up here, right? The board.
Oh, wonderful.
Get those flowers into water, so yeah.
Now we'll go on to student representative reports.
So last week on Saturday, we went against Renton Red Hawks and we won the football game. It's very exciting. So moves us on to this week. We're playing on Saturday, Seaholm, which I'm pretty sure last year we lost to them. Hopefully this year we're going to get them good. And that makes us number 8 on state football so far, I think, right?
Also, leadership students and CT leadership students at OHS are going to go to a field trip called Involve this Thursday, and it's going to teach us like how to involve the student body and how to be a leader and learn leadership skills this Thursday. And another thing is that winter sports for OHS start November 17th. And that's it.
Okay, any questions for them? Okay, now we'll go on to board member discussion. We got a legislative report, Aaron?
Yes, we do have a legislative report today. What? And I'm going to ask Amy to come up and help with this one. So as I told you a few weeks ago, WASDA has all the districts kind of go through a list of possible legislative priorities and submit the ones that are the highest priority for each district. And then they take that information and they compile it all into what WASDA's legislative priorities will be for this year, for this upcoming legislative session, kind of the things they're going to focus on in their legislative efforts with the lawmakers. And so just this last week, they announced what they had consolidated everything into. And so Amy and I are going to talk a little bit about what these are and how it affects our district. I'm going to pull it up on mine as well so I can see it better. So this one on the left, fulfilling our legal and moral obligations, is the big one. Basically, what a lot of our legislative efforts come down to is the state is legally required to adequately fund K-12 education. And the state says, oh, we are doing that. And then we say, no, you're not. And we just go back and forth about that. So a lot of this has to do with that. Keeping the K-12 education funding at current inflation-adjusted levels, reinvesting any declining enrollment amounts equitably into the K-12 system, and then increased funding for MSOC, which is material supplies and operating costs. That's something we talked about last year, too. That was big on their agenda last year as well. And additionally, complete the job of fully funding special education. That was also a big part of the platform last year. So both of those are carryovers from last year. They didn't get everything, they wanted as much as they wanted. So those are still big priorities around the state. And then, Amy, would you talk about this next one with the LAP funding and the prototypical school funding model?
Sorry, I was prepared for the other three bullets.
Sorry.
This one's a little bit more interesting because I don't know which direction they're going. Maybe increasing the LAP funding per student. And then the prototypical, so they're saying, that's when they say you can have this number of principals for this number of students per school. So hopefully they're thinking, one principal is not enough for elementary school of 500. Maybe you need two. So that kind of thing is hoping that it catches on and they start increasing the prototypical funding formula. The one I was getting ready to was what caught my attention was the very first bullet where it said reinvest any declining enrollment amounts equitably. So to me, it's like for this school year, we're probably like 30 FTEs below what I budgeted. So that equals about $375,000. And then you times that by 280 school districts. Like if they're going to fund that school at the beginning of the year and then the enrollment declines, where does that money go? That's hoping that they reinvest it into our school districts. Because it's not just the funding, it also affects how much we get for our food service, transportation, and all that. So it all adds up. So hopefully they figure that part out too.
And then this part on the right, flexibility for school districts. Pause on new policies and provide flexibility on existing ones so schools can focus on core academic needs. Basically, schools get a lot of stuff handed down from the state. You need to do this, we're going to mandate this. And most of the time they don't even provide money for those mandates. So this is just trying to get them to hold off on some of those unfunded mandates and, not give us these handed down from them that we have to do. That really takes away time and effort from the academic needs that we focus on. And then I'm actually not familiar with this one, the Small District Modernization Grant Program.
So we currently don't have anything for that. I don't know when they consider small districts. I think it's less than 2,000 FTE, so I don't think that one really applies to us. But hopefully we can get it somewhere else.
So yeah, those are the things that WASDA has outlined for their legislative priorities this upcoming session. Are there any questions from the board about that or anything else, Amy, that you wanted to add or anything?
The only thing, the other two about the MSOC, where they were saying $100 per student or $100,000, whichever is greater. So we would get the $100,000 because ours, it would be $430,000 maybe if it went per student. And then also, I might as well add the special education. We haven't in the past used any local levy money to fund special education. But with the rising costs of salaries and everything else, there could be a possibility that beginning with this school year, we might have to. So this would be a big help.
So the board is definitely going to hear more about this at the upcoming WASDA conference. I'm sure that they'll be talking about this a lot and what they're trying to accomplish. So that's our update for legislative report. Thank you, Amy.
Okay, we'll go on to the required approvals. Do I have a motion for the required approvals?
I'll motion to approve the required approvals.
I'll second.
Got a first and second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? So carries. Accounts payable warrants 2. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve accounts payable warrants too.
I'll second.
First and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So carries. Superintendent informational items. Talia?
Good evening. So I'm here to show you guys a little bit of a preview of the new OSD website. It's been definitely a work in progress. So a little bit of background. We have always used Blackboard for our website, but Blackboard was bought out by Final Site. And Blackboard, the interface of Blackboard is going to go away completely in December. So we've been working on trying to get our new website up and running. It's definitely still a preview right now. We're hoping to launch it by the end of this week. We have some contracted hours with the Final Site virtual webmasters, and they're working on some items on our website that should be done by Wednesday. By then, I am hoping to send you all a link so that way you could kind of on your own look through the website, give us feedback, and then of course be sending that link to all of the admins so that they can review it as well. And then once again, it's just going to be a little bit of a work in progress throughout the school year. So something different about our website, we came into a consensus that we are not going to be using separate domains for all of our schools. So currently right now, every single one of our schools has a different website, but that has kind of resulted in us, it's very challenging for us to be able to keep all of them updated at all times. So we're going to try out something different. We're going to have all of the school websites under the district homepage, but we did keep all of the domains in the event that the admin decide, hey, you know what, we really do want to have our own website outside from the OSD website. From some of the communication conferences that I've been to, a lot of the school districts that have about the same size of student population as us, they have gone this route where they have everything under the district website just because it's a lot more easier to keep updated and just make sure that nothing goes, outdated, right? If you go to our website right now, we have some information from COVID still on there. So we want to make sure that everything is always updated. I've even started something where I have been putting calendar reminders on my own personal calendar of things that are going to be getting outdated. For example, one of them is we're getting a new school board member. So as of January 1st, we need to update the website. We need to put the new information, right? So that's going to be kind of my task, is always making sure that everything that is no longer needed on the website comes off immediately as it should. One of the really cool features about this new website is this kind of like little preview right here. in the event that we have an emergency or we have a school closure, we can always have like this pop up immediately as soon as somebody gets on our website. Right now, we're going to keep it as, hey, welcome to our website. Give us a little bit of, patience as we continue updating our website. So that kind of is the little pop-up that we're going to be having there for now. But again, like I said, it's going to be used for any big news that need to be on there for people to know as soon as they get on our website. Some of the main tabs in our last website is, of course, the school menus, the parent and student portal, which is Skyward, bus routes, reporting a threat, final forms, and online payments. So we're going to leave those at the forefront. The other thing that you'll notice is that we are using all of the language of our strategic plan. So believe, achieve, belong, empowering dreams for all. So everything that you'll see on the homepage is related to our strategic plan. As you come down, we're going to be able to explore our schools. So each one is going to go to one of our schools. And we are actually going to be adding some images right here of each school so that people can know exactly what school it is, especially for those who are exploring our website, who are new to the community or might be moving to Othello and want to know a little bit more about our schools. We definitely want to have a visual. So we'll be adding some pictures on there. Then we're going to be adding some latest news topics right here. These, I'm not sure what I did, but before coming over here, but this was actually populated to today's date of tomorrow having Veterans Day. So definitely going to get that updated. The other thing that when I was speaking to the virtual webmaster final site, we currently have a calendar built in our website, but what we're going to be doing is they're going to update our platform so that way it links to a Google Calendar instead, because then we just update the Google Calendar, it automatically updates our website. We don't need to be going and updating, lots of different calendars everywhere. And I think that that's going to be a really great feature, especially for our schools, because they'll be able, the principals will be able to update their calendar for each of their schools, and it will automatically update on the website. So that's a really great feature. So some of the quick links that we talked about that were really important for some of our families is one, the Students tab. The Students tab right now on our current website, we have a page where it has all of the links that our students need. They use their Google Classroom, they use their Google Calendar, and then there's just other Math is Cool and lots of really cool links that they have. So we're going to be adding all of those here under students. Families, we're going to be adding all of the families tabs such as like student registration, student handbooks, anything that is really important to our families. And then athletics is something really big for our community as well. Right now, it currently links to our Othello Athletics page or website, but I know that Carlos has had a conversation with me about possibly, going away with this website and putting everything on our current website. So we'll definitely look at that in the future and possibly have everything go onto our website. And he'll also have the ability to create a calendar with the Google Calendar and just be updating it with all of our sporting events. Then again, calendar, very important, something that all of our families always want to be looking at. The biggest difference is the formatting. I feel like all of the formatting on this new website is very clean in comparison to our old website. And I've also been trying to be very consistent in the way that I present all of the information on the website as far as titles, the same font, colors, everything. So that way it's just nice, nice and appealing to our community and to anybody who wants to or is considering moving to the Othello School District as well. Under school board, you'll see that we also added something where it's really nice, where it's just a drop down and it shows everybody's information, a quick email link for everybody so that people can quickly go to our board members and be able to get in contact with them. And then, of course, some resources for the school board. It goes directly to the meeting agendas, the live streams, the recordings, the boundaries. I just wanted to make sure that everything was going to be easily accessible to anybody who goes to our website. Again, superintendent's page, everything is, once again, very clean and neat. When you go to the department's programs, right now, I'm not sure what's happening, but there is going to be an image right here. So that's an image. But it's really nice that anybody can go in and just look at our departments. And then, for example, we'll click on finance and business. And then again, everything is pretty the same, right? Like everything is just nice, clean, same formatting. We have a context page on every department page, so that way everybody knows who they need to speak to in each department. We have their contact information, and then I have had a request of adding images for each of our employees in each department, which is something that we're going to work on and add on there. But we've been doing that for every department just so that way, people know who they need to speak to, right? I'll go to early childhood. Again, some information about early childhood, lots of easy information, and then you can kind of see, if you want information on transitional kindergarten or, 3 to 5 special education programs. Once again, easy to the eye and easy accessible information. But once again, this is just a little bit of a preview. We're hoping to have it finalized by the end of this week. I will go ahead and send you guys all the link. You guys can look at it a little bit more in detail. Please provide me feedback if you guys think that there needs to be something different. And then we'll go from there. But yeah, work in progress.
It looks great. Thank you so much for all the work you put into it.
Any questions or comments? I like it. It looks like it's going to be really easy to maneuver around a lot better. Thank you. With that, we'll go to the scrutiny report.
Okay, is that better? Yes. So good evening, and thank you for the opportunity for us to share the work that's happening at Scoutney. I think most everybody knows me. I'm Denise Marich. I'm the principal at Scoutney, but I'm going to give everybody else on my team an opportunity to introduce themselves before we begin.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for having us. I am Jessie King, the new assistant principal at Scoutney.
I'm Tamar Lumsden. I'm the instructional coach at Scoutney.
And I'm Brendan Holst. I'm a 4th grade teacher at Scoutney.
Okay, so we were excited to host the school board and at Scoutney on last Monday. And for those of you who weren't there, well, you missed a really good treat. But don't worry, we're going to catch you up. So this year's focus at Scoutney is on PLCs, foundational reading and alignment. And this is across K-6. We've chosen these 3 priorities to build cohesion throughout our schools and to be intentional and systematic in improving student outcomes. PLC is focused on alignment in reading. So in K2, that is foundational reading, and in 3-6, it is target work. We also are aligning in writing, and we have our data-driven instruction. So foundational reading at Scoutney is a non-negotiable priority. The data clearly shows that we need to strengthen our foundational reading instruction. So in K2, it's really building a strong core instruction. And in 3rd grade through 6th grade, it becomes targeted intervention. Our data-driven system helps ensure that every decision that we make supports the best next move for student growth. So let's take a look at our PLCs. Through our PLC work during the year, it really begins and ends with professional development. So as the students are coming in, teachers are getting their classrooms set up, we really focus on professional development. And it has really been on that reading component of foundational reading and our our target work and our standards for reading, and also our writing. So all of our PLC time is dedicated to that. Then after our first interim assessments, we shift that a little bit. And so in our 90-minute PLC work, we take the first 30 minutes and we continue our professional development and our alignment. But then the other hour is really given to our data meetings. And so data meetings are at the heart of how we respond to student learning. And over the last 4 years, we have built this cohesive, very intentional, systematic process that uses data to guide our instruction. So this journey includes two key components. So the first key component is the interim data meeting, and then we move to weekly data meetings. So let's talk about our interim data meeting, which is the big data meeting. So after we've had 6 to 8 weeks of instruction, we get together as a team in a room. So it's the grade team with the administrative team, and we really go through and we look at the entire assessment, and then we choose just a slice of that to focus on. The team selects a priority standard, and they unpack what students need to know and be able to do to master that standard. Then they develop this reteach plan, and it lasts about a week or two at this targeted standard. They also design a mini assessment, like an exit ticket. It might be 2 to 4 questions that really focuses on the impact of that teaching and learning during that time. And this is really, the results of this assessment really drives the weekly data meetings for ongoing refinement. We alternate data meetings between math and ELA because in an hour it's really hard to get through both subjects. So they build out so that they have these ongoing meetings. This process allows teachers to deeply understand the standards, identify the learning gaps, and respond with targeted reteaching. Okay. So let's talk about the weekly data meetings. This is really responsive teaching in action. Teacher teams review the mini assessment, the results from that, and they identify what current student need is. They use the data to determine what the next best instructional move is going to be. Then they adjust or they recreate a reteach plan based on the student performance. They continue the cycle until students demonstrate proficiency in that standard. Then they move on to the next standard until all the standards that have been taught are at proficiency. The weekly data meetings sustain momentum by keeping instruction responsive and adaptive, ensuring that no student is left behind as the teams monitor the growth and adjust in real time.
So another part of our focus is the foundational reading component. And our journey began into this portion, which a lot of people just call phonics, about 3 years ago during a debrief following a series of actual math meetings. And so most people don't associate phonics with math, but as we were about 1.5 years into our journey with the data meeting process. And while we're sitting in math meetings, a lot of teams are choosing standards that are based on story problems. And when we would analyze student work, it came down to, well, if students could read this, they'd probably be able to do the math. And we kept hearing that over and over and over again for about 1.5 years. And so a trend had surfaced. And so with that trend information, it kind of led us to our first deep dive into, well, what do we do when students can't read? Because what we were doing wasn't working, obviously. And so we dug into the research My most beloved book of all in my office is this Wiley Blevins, A Fresh Look at Phonics. It dives deep into the science of reading, and we started digging in, and we found a few components that we were missing. Number one, the best predictor of success for kids to be successful decoders is that they have a systematic phonics program that teaches them all the sound patterns. Well, we had programs that taught sound patterns, but we were only getting halfway through the programs before the kids would go into the next school year. So that was a huge hole that we identified. Another thing that we identified, and I don't have my readers on, so I have to move this just a little, no, it's okay. I have to move it a little bit further away, is that, let's see. Oh, there's skills work and there's application work. And so our program had a ton of skills work and very little application work. Another piece that we found that was missing was that you need to review the skills for 4 to 6 weeks to ensure that kids have a chance to master those skills. And that was another component that our system was missing. So I think we can bump to the next one. We created this graphic to kind of summarize all of that learning that we had done. And it keeps us on track. It keeps us focused on what's important. Every piece of this graphic, the blending, the word awareness, the high frequency words, the dictation, the reading and connected text, and the writing in response to text, those are all components of a successful phonics program. And the most important piece of it is it should be 50% or less in the skills work, which if you've gone through a phonics program, that's the part where you practice word lists and you do the sound pattern over and over again. But those skills practices are not living in a connected text. Where the big bang for your buck is diving into that application piece. And that has to be 51% or more of your program. And so reading in a connected text, the sound patterns that you're trying to learn, and then responding to that text in writing, which is encoding. So we completely adjusted everything that we had been doing to make it fit what we had learned about phonics. And then, let's see. So, 2022 represents kind of our baseline. This was before we had learned anything about what a successful phonics program would look like. If you walked into our classrooms in 2022, you would have seen teachers teaching a very small amount of phonics in their core classes, and they were teaching that out of the Wonders curriculum. And then during Walk to Read, students were going all over the place to different EAs, and they were in small groups, and we had placed them where we thought they needed to be, and the EAs were teaching a different phonics program that was on a different scope and sequence. So they might be learning the short A pattern in core class, but they might be learning a VCE pattern in Walk to Read in there. They weren't getting any repetition, and they weren't getting that spiral review that they needed. So that baseline is 2022. So that's also the year in the spring where we said, what do we do when kids can't read? And we started talking about it a little bit and thinking about what are we going to do next. In 2023, we had selected the research that we wanted to dig into. Our leadership team started studying about phonics, and by the spring of 2023, we started digging into that with our staff. And we started a book study, and we started learning more about phonics. And in 2024, we started full implementation. So we were ready by the beginning of the school year. We were committed. We had scoped out. We are going to finish the entire program. Kids will get every single sound pattern. We are going to guarantee that. And you can see a huge jump between our 2024 and our 2025 results. And what this data represents is first graders leaving and coming into second grade. So for each year, it is the second graders' score when they enter the school year. So we're really proud of that 2025 score because that's at the end of summer after they've been playing for 3 months and they haven't sat in a single phonics lesson for 3 months. So that's, I think, pretty impressive.
Okay, so based on what Tamara shared, I'm going to get you into that phonics piece a little bit more so you can understand really what's happening in classrooms. And this is going to really relate to that slide from 2 slides ago, our systematic phonics instruction. So we've taken steps to really ensure high quality, consistent instruction in phonics across our early grades, as well as implementing the support that we need for our upper grades for students with those really specific phonics needs. First, we've mapped out, you can see this is an example of our scope and sequence and for our phonics instruction. And we want to ensure with this that every student is systematically taught all of the necessary phonics skills. So going back to what Tamar said, we need to get through all of the skills for our students. And those skills are what are going to support them in building that foundation that they need to be able to be successful in reading and in writing. So to support the work, it's been the work of our instructional teams, our teachers, our instructional coach, the leaders, and our paras as well. And everybody's really deeply involved in that, building that skills work. And how that plays out in the classroom is that all those people provide targeted support during lessons, and they reinforce the concept that students are working on and build the confidence of those students around those skills. So this is an example of just a little glance at what some of that skills work is, so you can be familiar with that. So here we have just 3 examples of some of the work that we built out and implemented, and this is due to the dedication in providing a viable curriculum for our staff. And so you can see here as you look at this, now I got to take off my cheaters. You can see that each one really works on a specific skill, but it also reviews previous skills, as Tamar was speaking to. So an example here are, we have our roll and writes at the top left, our word ladders, and our word sorts. And just for a little understanding of that, so our roll and writes really look at, in that game format, which we know engages kids more, they roll the dice, they have to read the word, and then they have to write the word. So they're really practicing that skill. For the word ladders, this is the teacher version, so the middle words would actually not be there, and the teacher would give the clue at the very bottom, and students then have to take the clue to determine what word is next. And this really allows students to begin to manipulate sounds and sound patterns. So like you can see on that bottom, change the s to a, I can't see it, b. And so students have to hear that, so students have to hear that sound, or actually a k, not a s. And so students have to hear that sound to build their, how they manipulate words, and then they have to be able to write that word. And as you can see, it also helps build that vocabulary that students need as well. So, and then that final one is the word sorts, and that helps students see patterns in words around a specific skill. So like, for example, that skill is, can they determine what is a 1-syllable, 2-syllable, and 3-syllable word? And what these do is give students repeated practice with specific phonics skills while also spiraling that instruction so that previously learned skills are continually reinforced. And that backs up what we're learning is they need that 4 to 6 weeks of that spiraled instruction on previously learned skills. And going back to that slide with that systematic phonics instruction, that was the skills work, which was that less than 50%. This is now the application piece, which is more than 50%. So this shows how students are applying the skills work to their reading and their writing. So we saw in the previous slide, some of the skills work was around trigraphs. So now this shows, okay, they have reading around the trigraphs. So they're implementing the skills and applying those skills to the reading. We've got dictation where they're having to hear it and write it, and just really having that time to really practice and apply that skill. So they're using the skill work to ensure that phonics instruction is not isolated, but is integrated into meaningful literacy experiences. And all of these efforts that we've put into creating this viable curriculum is just showing that our dedication to helping support our teachers as well as our students in our comprehensive curriculum. And we want to prioritize both skill mastery and application to prepare all students for long-term success in reading and writing.
Can you go back one?
I just want to add that in our deep dive into understanding the research, what's best, these are the skill works that they say will help students. I want you to know that these aren't pre-made curriculum pieces. This is all done by either teachers. Tamar has been really instrumental in creating these. Jessie, when she came on board, like the sorts, she's been doing it. So this is very labor intensive to make sure that we have a viable curriculum. So I just want, when we show this, I just want you to understand that we have made these in response to understanding what kids need.
So as we continue to refine this system, K2 now has an entire year under their belt where they have perfected how to use all of these different resources. And so now they're at a level where the teachers and the EAs came together in the summer during one of our PD days, and they actually wrote out scripts of why would you use this strategy? What would it sound like if you were the teacher? There's sentence starters, guiding questions, the what you're going to teach, the how you're going to teach it. And what this does is ensures that there is a high level of instruction, regardless of who the teacher is in front of the student. It could be the teacher of the classroom. It could be an EA in any part of the building, in any of the grade levels. It could be a substitute teacher. So today I was out doing some walks just to give a little bit of feedback about the system, and I had the opportunity of seeing several substitute teachers teaching the groups effectively and seamlessly. And if I were a stranger walking through the building, I wouldn't know that that was a substitute teacher because they were using the scripts and the kids, the learning just continued. It did not stop. They weren't doing a substitute activity. They weren't working independently. They were doing the learning that we were hoping for. So I think that guarantees that we're going to make sure that kids get the learning that they need every single day. Go ahead and hit the next one. And so you can imagine all of these pieces, there's a lot of pieces here. So we're pulling from curriculums that we have in-house. The RGR curriculum has 3 different versions for different grade levels. We've also incorporated a curriculum called UFly for our upper grades. And then we're creating all of these resources. So you can imagine that could be a real burden to access all of those things. So we created this monster spreadsheet, which is just makes my heart sing. And if you look at it, it still is referencing back to that original graphic that we created to guide us. You're going to see the application is all coded in purple, and in that top little line, you see it needs to be more than 50%. So like everywhere that we're creating these resources, we're keeping it at the forefront. Application, 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 and then skills work, and making sure it's visually accessible to everyone. And you can see that some of the links are live. They're blue. If you click on any of those blue links, those are pieces that we've downloaded from the curriculums that we've purchased or that we've created. And if they're not blue, that means those are our next steps. So this makes it accessible to teachers. It's a one-stop shop, and it also is a visual. Jessie's like my right-hand person here. She's just helping me, and all the teachers create all of this stuff. So if we see something is not blue, that's our next step. Yeah. Oh, still me. Oh, gosh. Now, we talked a lot about K2, and our 3-6 journey really began last spring because we recognized that we have students in 3-6 that are struggling to decode, to lift those words off of the page, and that really denies them access to their core curriculum, and our whole goal is to give them access to what they need to learn. And this is a completely different beast. K2, this is core content. This is what you're supposed to be learning when you're in kinder, 1st and 2nd grade. But in 3-6, teachers are not trained how to teach phonics. They don't have access to those materials. This is not a focus that they've ever learned how to do in their teacher training programs. And so we start with this flow chart, and this is years of development, of conversations. So we've figured out, okay, the first step for a 3-6 student is you have to figure out what it is they actually need. So the first question we ask, are they fluent and accurate in a continuous text? Yes, they bump over to the left-hand side, and now they're going to be doing reading comprehension during that walk-to time. If they don't need reading comprehension, they might be doing writing during that walk-to time. If, it goes down. We've gotten as far as like what type of writing. Do they need help with organization, all of that. So that's if they're reading fluent and accurate. If a kid is not reading fluent or accurate, no, then you go down and you look at their RGR scores. And RGR stands for that really great reading program. They have some diagnostic tests that we give, and we actually do an analysis of those. So you complete an error analysis and you figure out what are the things that they are missing. You don't want to teach kids phonics concepts that they've already learned. You want to get the concepts in front of them that they have not learned yet. So there's a lot of strategic planning involved. So that's the first step for 3-6, and then the other step is helping teachers get the support and the training and the resources in front of them so that they can be successful in teaching these older kids how to access the text.
Okay, so we have talked about our PLCs. We've focused on our foundational reading. And so the third focus is alignment. And when we talk about alignment, we really mean consistency across grade levels and content areas so that every student experiences a unified approach to learning. So at Scootney, alignment just isn't about the materials. It's also about a shared language, a shared experience or the expectations, and shared practices. Our goal is that students moving from one grade level to the next doesn't encounter a completely new system by moving, but rather there's this the continuation of clear and connected learning experience. So we're going to turn now and we're going to look at our writing and our 3-6 comprehension, which we will call target work.
A research study was done between 50 schools across the country, and they found that the schools that had aligned curriculum achieved double the student growth compared to non-aligned schools. Along with those findings, they also heard from students that described these classes as more worthwhile or more meaningful. Teachers also reported higher morale and stronger buy-in. This is clear evidence that alignment drives success, sustains engagement, and strengthens our staff, and we're putting this in action at Scootney with a common graphic organizer for writing across all grades. On the left, you can see the one that we're using for our 3-6 teachers. On the right is the adapted version for our K2 teachers. That right one was designed during a summer PD by our hardworking K2 teachers with the goal of keeping the same structure, but also making it more accessible for those younger learners. I went and spoke with one of our new second grade teachers at Scootney, and she was saying that this organizer is helping her make writing more achievable for her students, and it's also exciting insight into what students will need to master in the years ahead. She just really wanted to emphasize that it was cool to see where we're headed. She's always worked with second grader students, and so to talk to me as a fourth grader, like, hey, I need this kind of ability level, and she tried to make it so that even second grade can do something so that it made it easier for me as we move forward. This isn't just a strategy, it's the foundation for a lasting academic growth and shared success. By connecting these tools, we're building deeper knowledge, improving writing efficiency, and creating a seamless progression from kinder through 6th grade. Another powerful way that we're aligning instruction is through our target work. Each target bundles related Common Core standards into one clear focus. We start by reading the full standard and then breaking it into very easy student-friendly definitions of what they need to know. So there's kind of a little left there that is always looked at and referred to, as well as things they need to show us to show that they have mastery, and that's on the right there. This is always re-looked into so that we're always adjusting it and focusing on it to see if we need to add anything, need to take away anything, to reword anything, and that's really good for all teachers from new to veterans so that we can always look at that and see if we're truly teaching what's necessary. As a PLC, we collaboratively wrote mini teaching scripts, so that's there on the right, for every target. These are gold for our new teachers, substitutes, or even veterans that just need a quick refresher. We also revisit these scripts throughout the year, making them sharper and more effective with each cycle that we're going through them. I talked with a substitute that's in our building a lot and always working through different grade levels, and she was saying that this year especially she saw a major tick up in the sub plans and the abilities, and we kind of already heard to that, of these subs are expected to teach to a higher level, and these scripts are really making it easier for our teachers to expect that of them. This has resulted in increased communication and cohesion across grades. One fourth grade teacher shared this is the most we've ever partnered with our third grade partners to align the language in our lessons. That shared verbiage accelerates learning, especially for our English language learners, and ensures every student hears consistent, precise instruction from year to year and from grade to grade. This target system isn't just organization, it's instructional equity in action. Another alignment tool we're using is the SEI chart. It's a proven organizer for tackling complex comprehension questions. It's simple, yet powerful. The S stands for the subject. We're kind of looking for that subject of the question. What are we talking about, or who are we talking about? The E is the evidence from the text. What have we learned and what are we looking for, so that we can compile it in a very easy place so that our kids can reference it. It's really teaching them to take notes. And the most important aspects is it's a lot of information that they're trying to take in all at once to tackle this singular question. We're just trying to get them to focus. In that I, it stands for inference. Usually, in this case, at least in this example, it's our answers. And we're trying to align what inference can we make based on the evidence that we were given. This framework has been in use for a few years at Scootney, but vertical alignment has supercharged its impact. I spoke with a 6th grade teacher who said, "This year, students grasp the procedures faster than ever, and I've been able to push their depth of knowledge further than I thought possible." That's what alignment does. It eliminates redundancy, unifies language and practices, and frees us to move beyond the procedures and into true critical thinking. At Scootney, we're not just checking boxes. We're closing gaps, building teacher morale, ensuring equity, and preparing every student to thrive as thoughtful, capable contributors to our community. This is alignment with purpose.
So thinking about PLC's foundational reading and alignment, our journey is one of building systems that are cohesive, focused, and intentional. This work is not easy, and it takes time. Through the data-driven and responsive approach, we know that success doesn't happen by chance, it happens by design. Each layer of our work connects one to the next, ensuring that every student at Scootney is supported through systematic and purposeful teaching. So now, the best part. What questions or comments do you have?
The site visit was really great. We were happy to be there. Thank you for having us. One of the main things that I picked up while I was there was just the same things that you said, that all these things that you're doing is shows your dedication to student learning, that you're not doing what's easiest or what's most convenient, but what is actually going to help the students. And I really felt that there. We got to talk to kind of the 3 levels of leadership, your admin team, your staff leadership, and even some student leaders. And all of them talked about, we're doing this to identify what the students need and then to work on that. The student that we spoke to from the leadership was saying how he's just out there giving out stickers and trying to make sure that his classmates have a good day. And it was really great. And thank you for all the work you do. I feel bad that so many parents just drop off their kids and then pick them up and have no idea all the work that goes on behind the scenes. So thank you for that.
At any point, you can bring some by. We'd be happy to share our story.
I want to apologize. I was out of town and I wasn't able to make the site visit. But watching your guys', I appreciate all the work that you guys put into this. But through your presentation, I never once heard anything about math. If I was to be a parent and sit here and never know, like I wasn't able to make it to the presentation, I wouldn't think that that was even part of the curriculum that was taught there. Not that you guys haven't put a lot of work into what you guys are doing now, but nothing was mentioned about math or anything else. At some point, I feel like, how much more can we hammer these kids with reading and writing? I get that that's the biggest part of it, but we don't focus on anything else, or at least it wasn't shared with us today. Not that you guys don't do it, obviously, but it would have been nice to have shared something more than just reading and writing.
Yes, and I appreciate that comment. That has been a topic of conversation around our teachers, that we haven't had a deep dive or focus. And so, but what is really interesting is our math scores have not suffered from the focus on reading. A lot of our kids come in pretty strong with the computation, but where we get tripped up is really understanding the application part. So when the kids get a real world problem, or then it's harder for them to decipher what is being asked of them. So really focusing in on our reading has actually upped our scores in math. So we have not done the big alignment with math yet, but that is next to come. But this part is so critical that this is what we're focusing on. But it's not only had an effect on their reading and comprehension, it's also had a positive effect on our math scores.
Okay. Thanks. Always, I appreciate my visits at Scootney. It carries a special spot with me, and saying I really enjoy them.
Well, thank you for coming.
I was going to say, I am sorry that I didn't make it. I was not allowed to get out of work that day, but I mean, I was a Scootney star when I was in elementary, so it's nice to see. I just wanted to ask, there was a slide on scope and sequence, and it was showing the curriculum and the dates and all that jazz. Do the classes move together through the curriculum? So each fourth grade class or second grade class is doing the exact same thing in the exact same week, so they're moving together? Or are teachers kind of allowed to say, hey, we need an extra week to focus on this specific thing we're working on? Or kind of what does that structure look like? I'm sorry if you explained it during the site visit, but yeah.
Yeah, no, that's okay. I'm going to actually hand this off to Brendan because he's a fourth grade teacher. He can speak directly to this.
You can look at a scope and sequence almost like a roadmap that's very generalized. This is how we're going to get through. We break down the number of instructional days that we're going to take place and what we can go about it. As a fourth grade team or as any team, you're going to break down exactly how long you wanted to spend on each thing. If we go back to it, you could even see there's a lot of hyperlinks. So if you go through the grades, you're trying to make it as simplified as possible so that every teacher has the easiest time. You're seeing those hyperlinks in there. That's just resources, information, what our goals are for that week. Of course, there's always weeks where things kind of get thrown off. And there's usually built-in kind of weeks or days where we're saying, hey, this is a good time to make this up. This is a good time to make this up. We're really just trying to align and so that we can all help each other. And so we had multiple meetings even today where we talked about, hey, this is kind of the goal of the week. What can I help? What needs printed? What needs done? These are strategies I tried last year, the year before with this kid. This might work for that. And so we're just really getting aligned in those aspects. So we have that cohesion. And then as things come up, we're already understanding it's like, well, this is a built-in day that we can make up here. This is a built-in day we can make up here, but we're always having that urgency of we need to get to here, we need to get to here, we need to get here. So everything's getting filled in. But yes, it is a roadmap to generally get us to where we need to go in the time frame that we have.
Awesome, thank you.
Can I add something? No. I just wanted to add too, that's also the purpose of those weekly reteach plans. This is new to me coming into Scootney, but that really allows them to look at that weekly data and then to plan, okay, I'm going to add an extra 5-10 minutes into core instruction to focus on that skill that students needed to help move students along.
With that scope and sequence, it guarantees that students will be taught every skill that they need for that grade moving forward. So we really try to keep on the schedule to make sure and guarantee that we're not creating our own problems by not teaching kids the skills that they need. And then, like Jesse said, then the reteach plan comes in. Like, we needed a little more time. We didn't have time to stop, but we can go back and reteach the skills that students were struggling with.
Any further questions or comments?
Okay. So I was also a Scootney student. I do have a question though for 3 to 6 reading intervention. So I remember loving doing the Dibbles testing because I remember I was always like a fast reader. I was like always reading super fast, but I would get like so much words and like almost like 0 mistakes in them. But I always I didn't understand why we did it. I know right here it says like for fluency and accuracy, but where is the part where we like actually comprehend it? Because I would read it, but I would not remember the thing I read.
I'm really glad you asked that question. I used to be an 8th grade teacher, and I'm a little bit ashamed that I said this out loud to my students many times, but I would tell them, it really doesn't matter how fast you read, because I didn't understand the importance of it. And then I became an instructional coach at the elementary level, and I did a lot of research, and there is a ton of brain research out there that says that if you can read 100 words per minute, then your brain switches from concentrating solely on decoding the words and to be able to then start attending to comprehension, because our brains can only do so many tasks at one time. So if you're taking your whole brain power just to sound out the words, by the time you get to the end of the sentence, you don't understand. And so we focused a lot, and I know you said I was a fast reader, I could do it so good, but I still didn't understand what I read. It was probably because we had an overemphasis on reading fast as opposed to accurate, and then also digging into what are those comprehension strategies. So when you went through elementary school, I bet you had amazing teachers, but there might have been a really good focus on just read the words faster, and then you're going to magically comprehend. So we're trying to get kids to be able to decode at a certain rate so their brains can switch over into that other piece. And then there's other strategies to use, like if we have kids that are reading fluently and accurately, but they're still struggling with comprehension, then we're going to employ some of those other graphic organizers and help them learn how to think more critically about the things they're being asked. Does that answer your question?
Yeah,
Okay.
thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having us.
Do we have any public comment at this time? That will go up with upcoming events. WASDA Conference, 20th through the 22nd in Seattle. I guess you got everybody that's going already. Next regular board meeting will be on November 24th. And then right after that is Thanksgiving break already. So is there any more to add to that calendar? Okay, with that, we'll go on to the board self-assessment of the meeting.
Just really quick, I should have mentioned this earlier in board member discussion, but I did want to remind everyone that the High School Drama Club is doing their play this week, a Midsummer Night's Dream, performances on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. So excited to see that. I know they've been working really hard. As far as the meeting, one of the ways that we can tell Pete isn't here is that it's too warm in here. So if he were here, it would be cooler in this room.
It's a little warmer than normal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really appreciate the scrutiny report tonight, very informational.
It's also nice to hear the legislative reports, what the direction that the state wants.
And staff recognition. Enjoyed that. Thank you.
Really looking forward to the new website. And again, thankful for all the work that's been put into that, to Leah and Dr. Meek and everything that's gone into that.
Any more to add to that? Okay, being none, this meeting's adjourned.